Pranam and welcome to all those devotees who have been participating in Sadhana Sangam held at various Yogoda ashrams, and to those numerous devotees joining us virtually for this special program. With grateful hearts and joyful minds, let us invite our President and Spiritual Head, Pujya Swami Chidanandaji, into our midst. Pujya Swamiji, we are thankful to you for being with us today, and we are eagerly looking forward to your words of wisdom, especially on this topic of balanced living. Swamiji, please.
My very dear ones, loving greetings and pranams to each one of you. I can't tell you what a joy it is to see on the screen here in each of the windows our beloved YSS members and devotees and friends gathered at these 4 Sadhana Sangams that you have had these last few days. I think, if I'm correct, that one at Noida, one at Dakshineswar, one at Chennai, one at Igatpuri at the Paramahansa Yogananda Sadhana Laya, and then also joining us the groups that I see here gathered at our ashrams in Ranchi and Dwarahat to join this live stream. May I greet each one of you individually. Ranchi ashram first. Jai Guru. There are my dear brothers and sisters in the Shravanalaya, isn't it? Pranams. God and Guru bless each one of you. And now I think we go to Dakshineswar. Jai Guru. Oh, what a joy to see you there on the veranda of that beautiful ashram. It makes me want to fly over there and join you on the banks of the Ganges. But my heart and my loving greetings are with each of you who have come for this program of Sadhana Sangam. Jai Guru. And now I think we fly up to the Himalayas and see Guruji's devotees gathered at Dwarahat. Jai Guru. Loving greetings to each of you. I'm so happy that all of you can join us for this very special gathering. Jai Guru. And now we return to Noida Ashram. Let's see, oh, there they are. Jai Guru. God and Gurus bless you, dear ones. I almost feel as I did just not too many months ago, sitting there at that same view, looking out at you in that hall. So know that my heart and my prayers and Guruji's blessings are with each of you. And now can we make a quick flight down to South India, and let's see our beautiful new Chennai ashram and the devotees there. There they are, Jai Guru, devotees in Chennai. I'm so happy that you all are joining us, and I can feel, not only from you, but from each of the others as well, the collected vibration of your efforts in meditation and communion with God and Guru during these days of Sadhana Sangam. Jai Guru. And now can we go over to the Sadhanalaya at Igatpuri? There's the devotees, Igatpuri. Jai Guru. What a joy to see all of you there. My, what a large and enthusiastic gathering. The light of your devotion and the efforts you have made in these days of spiritual effort, group activity, group meditation. I feel strongly how pleasing it is to Guruji that you all have taken time from your lives to join in these gatherings. And I mean not only Igatpuri, but all of you who have come together for these programs. So welcome to all of you, and you know, outwardly, here we are. I can't even wrap my mind around it, that here we are in so many locations around the world, but inwardly, don't you feel, I feel strongly, we are just one gathering, one family, assembled here in the light of God, in the light and blessings of our Guru and Param Gurus. And not only all of you in your ashrams and your sadhana sangams there, but also we are linked with the very powerful vibrations flowing from this sacred ashram where Guruji established his international headquarters, the Mother Center where I am seated, and also from all of his ashrams around the globe. And as Swamiji mentioned, the thousands who are joining us from their homes and other places, joining the live stream from all over the world. Welcome and blessings to all of you. Well, let's begin with a prayer and feeling, invocation of the presence of God and the Gurus. Please sit upright, close the eyes, gently bring the gaze to the Kutastha center. Now, in that gathering calmness, let's take a moment just to visualize this beautiful network of spiritual consciousness that's formed by our live stream event today. Feel that divine awakening power coursing through the network of our united hearts, united minds, blessing and uplifting each one of us. Now feel that from that great Father, Mother of all creation, from our Gurus, from their sacred ashrams, that a river of light and peace is silently flowing into this gathering. Feel that river of light and peace flowing into this united gathering. Feel it in all the cells of your body. That river of light and peace flows into all the cells of your body, into your heart, into your feelings, flowing through your heart, flowing through your feelings, and flowing and cleansing and illuminating your thoughts and your mind. Feel, my dear ones, that we are sitting in one great temple of that divine presence, united in our souls, united in our purpose, united in the blessings of God and Guru. Now let us pray together with all the devotion of our hearts. Heavenly Father, Mother, friend, beloved God, Bhagavan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, revered and beloved Gurudev, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we bow to you all. Beloved Gurus, make me a living link with your divine consciousness in this modern world. Saturate me and recharge me with the wisdom and will to live a balanced existence, inspired by my living connection with your divine consciousness that guides me harmoniously in all that I do. Receive my love, receive my devotion. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. My dear ones, we have just practiced one of the most powerful techniques of creating a balanced life. And that is making contact with and spending time in the company of the masters, the divine ones, the saints who have achieved that goal of existence while living on this material plane. Remember this whenever you temporarily feel yourself out of tune or out of balance or stressed or burned out, having temporarily lost perhaps your feeling of being connected to the presence, the joy, the peace of God. Remember this. As Swami Shankara proclaimed, the company of a divine personage, even for a moment, can save and redeem us. My dears, you know, in times like we're going through these last days and weeks, we realize, don't we? We realize anew what a chaotic place this world is. And in times of war and widespread unrest or disruption, that affects us. It affects the harmony of our lives if we're not on guard. It affects the vibratory balance in the ether and our individual existence as well. Events like what's going on in the Middle East and elsewhere are creating vibrations around the world of uncertainty, instability, insecurity, anxiety to so many people. And yet, my dear ones, how wonderfully you have countered all contrary vibrations, all potentially disruptive or upsetting feelings and emotions by the sadhana that you have undertaken. You know, at times like this is when the teachings of our masters become especially meaningful. And they remind us, as you have felt, each one of you, in these last few days, they remind us that each person who anchors his or her consciousness in God contributes real, tangible spiritual power toward peace, toward greater harmony throughout the world. So let us hold that thought throughout this gathering and in the days ahead. Hold that thought, anchoring our consciousness in God, in that peace and harmony for our own well-being and also to influence others around us in the world. So today we are discussing, as Swami Chidanandaji said, Paramahansa Yogananda's ideals about balance. And I want to begin by reflecting on the event that we had here at the Mother Center just a few weeks ago. Do you remember perhaps the event was to discuss how to advance Paramahansa Yogananda's vision, his vision for his work, for the world mission that he was sent to accomplish. And do you remember what we summed up as the single most essence of Paramahansa Yoganandaji's vision in one sentence? Do you remember that? It was this, that you will find God. You will find God. That was his vision, his entire life, his teachings, his organization, everything, all were founded to help us realize that goal. So here, similarly today, if we ask, well, what was the essence of his ideal of balanced living? I would like to put it just as simply. His ideal was, you can live a balanced life. You can live a balanced life. You can live a life in which body, mind, and soul work together harmoniously, where our spiritual aspirations and our worldly responsibilities no longer pull us apart, but support one another. That was his vision for each one of you, for all of us. And then from that foundation point, his vision expands outward. Because, as he said so often, when individuals bring balance into their lives, then nations can live in balance with their neighbors. Nations can live in balance with the emerging global civilization, in balance with nature, and in balance with God. Guruji expressed that vision not just in his teaching, in his talks, in his writings, but when he would go into ecstasy, for instance, in this ecstatic chant that he would often go into samadhi during periods of devotional chanting, as we've all heard. And from one of those chants, we can take one of the most beautiful summaries, you might say, of what balanced living really means. We can express it in just these 2 sentences from that beautiful chant. Spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. Spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit and victory to nature. You know, if you meditate on just those 2 sentences in connection with this subject of finding balance in daily life, if you meditate on them deeply and manifest them in your daily life, you will have captured the essence of what a balanced life consists of in this material world. Think about it. Spirit and nature dancing together. First of all, it means that we perceive all creation as a divine dance, a divine lila, the play of God. And because of that, we live in the consciousness of devotion to the ever-present Spirit, that beloved one, that ecstatic, bliss-filled Spirit informing all beings and all events. And at the same time, it means, dear ones, that we are to embody Spirit. We embody Spirit in our own personal dance with the material world, fulfilling our duties, our work, our relationships, all with the mind immersed inwardly in God consciousness. Spirit and nature dancing together. Then we find life then no longer is this struggle. It's no longer a tug of war between God on the one hand and the world on the other hand. It becomes a joyful dance. Spirit and nature moving together in harmony. Let that ecstatic perception sink into your consciousness. Victory to spirit means let the bliss and wisdom and peace and love of God be triumphant in our lives and in this world. And victory to nature, may this earth bring forth beauty and nurture and sustain all of Mother's children on this planet. Nurture and sustain them with prosperity, with health and well-being. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. That, my dear ones, is our Guru's vision of a balanced life for us as individuals and for our emerging global civilization. Do you feel the power of that? Do you feel the divine energy and vibrations that come from that ecstatic perception? That if we bring our minds back many times during the day, just to that presence of God pervading all creation, dancing with all creation, and then let that spirit within us, the soul, be harmoniously, joyously engaged in our dance of our duties, of our relationships, of all that our material life in this world consists of. I often reflect and marvel about how these YSS and SRF teachings that Paramahansaji brought to the world, these are a master class in achieving balance in our lives. Particularly the lessons, the YSS SRF lessons. They're a master class for achieving balance in our lives. Could you put on the screen, please, the 2 lessons in particular There you see, these are just two samples. Lesson 15, The Art of Balanced Spiritual Living. And lesson 64, Living a Life of Spiritual Balance. I'm putting these up just for you to be reminded that when you go home after this program, these are just a wonderful way to refresh your understanding, to ground yourself in those teachings that our Guru has given in the lessons. And my dears, also on this occasion, in connection with the lessons, I want to share some joyous news with you, very special news. I'm happy to announce that the new edition of the YSS lessons will soon be released in the Kannada language. Next week, I believe it is, special event that to release those lessons, which will allow millions of our dear Kannada-speaking devotees to study Gurudev's teachings in their mother tongue. Jai Guru, what a wonderful accomplishment that is, and heartfelt gratitude to all of the devotees and the monastics, the translators and volunteers whose loving service made this milestone possible. And as we look forward to that event next week, let us hold the thought. Let's hold that joyous prayer, that the dedicated efforts that have flowered into this release of the Kannada lessons will carry Gurudev's wisdom and inspiration into many, many homes, many, many hearts for generations to come. Because, again, the lessons are a master class in balanced living. I want to quote Guruji's own words about this because, as always, his words carry such power. Here's what he said. The teaching presented in the lessons is a comprehensive system, a method to bring the individual into complete and balanced harmony with the great plan of the universe. There are many forces at work seeking to destroy this balance, to produce disease or fear or poverty, failure or unhappiness. These forces attack the individual to upset his physical, mental, and spiritual balance. But the great secret of mastering these forces has been known for ages to the exalted yoga masters and saints of India. That mastery, Guruji said, is achieved by the science of controlling life energy, or prana. I want us to reflect on this just for a few moments, because here Guruji has given us, again, what he says, the primary skill for living a balanced life. It is that science of pranayama. In other words, think of it this way. The ability to switch energy on for activity, for constructive, wholesome activity in the world, and the equal ability to switch it off when activity is finished. Can you visualize that? Are you following? That is the technique that allows us to live a balanced life, the ability to switch the energy on and the equal ability to switch it off when the activity is finished. Now here's the key. For most people in the world, this is an unconscious process. It's a reactive process. For most people in the world pulls at them this way and that way. It's tugging at their likes and dislikes, their fears, their desires, and automatically their energy flows out into that outer chaos. Their consciousness, their energy becomes captive to that outer chaos. You know, in this sense, most people are actually victims of circumstance. Most people are victims or slaves to the world. And my dears, this is the inner battle of Kurukshetra, as our Guru has so beautifully explained in his commentary on the opening verses of the Bhagavad Gita. So for millions, billions around the world, that flow of energy, that captivating tug at the consciousness, pulling it outward and keeping it engrossed and involved and enslaved to the world. It's an unconscious or reactive process. But from the blessings of God and gurus and the teachings in YSS and SRF, each one of us learns to make that unconscious reactive process a matter of conscious choice. It's a revolutionizing event and process that gradually takes place as we practice the teachings, as we practice the techniques of meditation. We become the directors of our attention. We become the directors of the flow of our life energy. All of you who have studied Guruji's lessons, this skill is imparted in the very basic technique of the energization exercises. You know, Guruji has given us this comprehensive, powerful, life-changing system of integrated techniques that together make up the science of Kriya Yoga. But the energization exercises, we begin to learn this skill of turning the energy on, sending it outward into the muscles in this case, and then at will relaxing and withdrawing it. Remember the instruction in the lesson? Tense with will, relax and feel. Tense with will, relax and feel. I'm reminding us all of this because of this point. Each time we perform those exercises with concentration, we are enhancing the primary skill for the ability to live a balanced life, pranayama. Now here's a key point, and I offer this for all of the devotees who have made the energization exercises a part of your daily sadhana. It's so easy to fall into mechanical performance of them, where we just do the bodily motions, but not really concentrating on that flow of energy into the muscles, and equally important, on withdrawing it into relaxation. You know, very often we think we wake up in the morning before meditation, we go through the exercises, and perhaps our main focus is on the energizing part of it. Send that energy into the muscles, and then quick onto the next muscle, and then onto the next group of muscles. But not giving comparable attention to the relaxation phase. Remember that principle. Tense with will, relax and feel. Tense with will, relax and feel. When we develop mastery of this principle in our own bodies, then we learn to apply it with success in our outer lives in general. It starts with that concentrated, enthusiastic, conscientious performance of those exercises. And by doing that, we're developing that skill to apply that principle of pranayama in our outer lives in general. That ability to switch energy on when we want to be active and switch it off when the activity is over and it's time to retire within, to go into the sanctuary of the soul in meditation, in stillness and peace. All of the YSS, SRF basic meditation techniques do this, and especially the science of Kriya Yoga, especially the science of Kriya Yoga, the technique of Kriya Yoga. You know, when we're thinking about this subject of what is a balanced life, remember, balance is just another word for yoga. Balance is just another word for yoga. And here's a key point. Yoga is balance, and especially if you practice a balance of yogas. Yoga is balance, especially if you practice a balance of yogas. Let me explain what I mean by that. I share a little story with you of our revered past president and Sangamata, Sri Sri Dayamatiji. Such an example for all of us of her life of spiritual balance, of her life of discipleship, of embodying what these teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda Giri are all about. But one time she was having an interview with a journalist, and the interviewer asked her, "Ma, please tell me, was Paramahansa Yogananda a bhakti yogi, or was he a jnana yogi, or was he a karma yogi?" And she smiled, knowing him so well all those years, and just said, "He was many-sided. He was many-sided." And then she went on to explain. She said, first of all, as a karma yogi, we saw him working tirelessly, day and night and day, tirelessly working for God and for the upliftment of humanity. Karma yoga. Then she said, as a jnana yogi, as a jnani, we received his wisdom that flowed ceaselessly through his counsel, through his words, through his writings. Jnana yoga. And then, so sweetly, remembering that defining characteristic of Gurudev, she said, above all, he was known as a bhakta. Above all, he was a premavatar, an incarnation of divine love. Many-sided. And Guruji himself told us this. He said, karma yoga purifies the will, bhakti yoga purifies the heart and intellect, purifies the heart, and jnana yoga purifies the mind and intellect. Combining the three, Guruji says, allows the true nature of the eternal self to shine forth. Combining the three, balancing the three, that is Raja Yoga, he said, the royal yoga, which takes the best of all these yoga paths and gives us a direct highway to God. So you see, yoga is balance, but we have to practice a balance of yogas. You follow the point? I see you nodding your heads. I really like, I'm just digressing here, to look in the windows and see all of you. I just love having this ability to feel that I'm there with you in each one of those locations. Beautiful. Anyways, to come back to our subject, Dayamataji also had another interview along the same lines, and I want to share that too, because this is very interesting. The interviewer asked her, he said, "Ma, Paramahansaji was not only just a spiritual teacher, but he was a writer, a musician, a poet, a cook, an athlete, a divine friend, and, if you will, a divine trickster in the sense of the wonderful humor that he possessed. That certainly sounds like a good balance. That's what the interview said to Dayamatji. And here's what she replied. She said, "Without a doubt, he was the most balanced human being that I have ever met. And I'm sure that many others who knew him would say the same. The most balanced human being that I have ever met." That's our divine Gurudev. Isn't it wonderful, my dears, and extremely comforting to know that in this fallen world there are even a few rare individuals that we can look to, that we can model our lives after as ideal examples of what we want to become, of the kind of life we want to live. And let us always remember, one who meditates on a great incarnation absorbs the qualities of that divine incarnation. Guruji used to quote from the Mahabharata and refer to the story where it is said that Krishna's soldiers were all like Krishna. And then he would look so humbly and sweetly at the disciples around him. And he didn't need to say it in words, but the meaning was there. That his chelas, his disciples, had that blessed opportunity to become like him, to manifest, to model, to absorb those same qualities. That, my dears, is the opportunity. That's the blessing, the privilege that each one of us has. I want to share again some more words of Guruji on how to preserve balance in our lives. So just listen to how Guruji talks. And you know, what I always marvel at in these talks that are printed in the books of his talks and lectures, Solving the Mystery of Life, Journey to Self-Realization, Divine Romance, Man's Eternal Quest, these volumes that we have of his talks over the years, you get such a feeling of being right there, that he knows what we're going through, and he's talking in the most personal and practical way to each one of us. So here's what he said about balance and about the struggles, the challenges that we face. He said, you know, sometimes everything is going along very nicely, and we think the world and our place in it, everything is all right. But then the time comes when everything seems to go against us. I think we've all had that experience one time or another. Nod your head if you can relate to that. One day everything is going swimmingly, and then the next day all of a sudden we're caught up in these cross currents of inharmony and difficulties. Everything seems to go against us. So Guruji goes on to say, this is a lesson given to strengthen us, to bring out our hidden powers. And here's the point. He said, if you never get angry at life's reverses or at their human instigators, in other words, that tendency just to blame everybody around us when things are going wrong. No, Guruji says, if you can never get angry at life's reverses or at their human instigators, you can see your way more clearly through whatever is going on around you. That is why, he said, that is why your peace is to be guarded above all else. And he concludes with this wonderful counsel for each of us. If you never lose your peace, you will find that you are always victorious, no matter what the outcome of your problems. That is the way to conquer life. So Guruji urges us, hold on to that inner peace at all costs. So what are the ways that we do that? Let's talk about that for a few moments. What are the ways in which we can hold on to that inner peace, which is really the foundation of a balanced life? It's the foundation on which we build a life of balance, a life of harmony. So here's one powerful key. The Hindu scriptures say, awareness is the pillar of yoga. Awareness is the pillar of yoga. This means a lot to not only myself, but many of us monks who grew up in the SRF ashrams, because this was a favorite saying that was often quoted to us by Swami Premamoy, our postulant mentor, house brother. And what he was teaching us, he was teaching us awareness is the pillar of yoga. In other words, always be aware. When your emotions start to get ruffled, always be aware when you feel tension starting to accumulate in the body, when stress or tension start to manifest in the body, or whether your heart begins to feel anger or fear. You know, again, 99% of the world is in a complete reactive mode. These things come and they respond. They react. They get stressed. They get ruffled. They get angry. They get fearful. But here's the point. Here's what we need to learn as yogis. The instant we become aware of any kind of emotional imbalance, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, stress, worry, etc., so on, that's the time when immediately we consciously deploy the psychological and spiritual skills that yoga teaches to maintain our poise, our equilibrium amidst the forces, amidst the cross currents, you might say, of worldly existence. So what are some of those techniques? Again, as we said, it starts with awareness. Train yourself to check in on your mental state and even your bodily state at different times during the day. You know, often we find in this modern world of constant stimulus, constant motion and activity and restlessness, that the body, we're unconsciously holding muscular tension. We should be aware of that so that we can consciously take control of it and rebalance the flow of energy in the body. We can just stop. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale slowly. Hold and then exhale. Inhale, exhale. Tense and relax the muscles, feeling that sense of relaxation, restoring peace, restoring calmness to the muscles, to the body. And amazingly, as Guruji taught us, we release the tension from the muscles, we are also releasing it from the mind. Then we feel that return of peace, that return of inner balance and poise. Or we can just stop when we become aware of our emotions becoming imbalanced. At the very beginning, just stop. Practice an affirmation. I am peace. I am calm. I am peace. I am calm. I am peace. I am calm. Or another technique, just this, just smile. Just smile. You know, it sounds so simple, but it can change our consciousness just like that. Even science has proved this. They've done research on that. But Guruji was the forerunner in giving us these tools. He said, you can resurrect yourself from the littleness of life, from the little things that disturb you. And he urged us, he said, smile that $1 million smile of balanced recklessness, that $1 million smile that nobody can take from you. So these are some of the how to live skills, the how to live tools that yoga, that Guruji's teachings give to us, that encourage us to build into our lives. You know, the key to living a balanced life is to stop ourselves from becoming unbalanced right at the beginning. When something comes to unbalance our poise, to unbalance our sense of connection with God and Guru, from our attunement, our inner devotional practice of the presence of God. At the very beginning of that imbalance, stop. Awareness is the pillar of yoga, and then take that yoga psychology to create a solution for yourself, to restore that balance. Then we begin to go through life day after day with the ability to maintain that inner peace, that inner balance. When we look at the lives of our Gurudev and Param Gurus and their great disciples, Dayamataji and the others, and we see the joy, we see the peace, we see that great balance and harmony that they manifest. You know, naturally we want to ask, where can I find that balance? Where can I find that balance? And there's one answer that Guruji gave that's more important than all the others. And it may be surprising to some, but here it is. Where can I find that balance? In the spiritual eye. Right here in the spiritual eye. Now, I want to spend just a moment talking about this because it's such an important point for those of us who are building our lives around the teachings of YSS and SRF, the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. And here's the point. You know, we can learn the outer aspects of balanced living from many sources, many popular books or influencers or self-help teachers. And yes, that outer approach to balancing our lives is very valuable. It has great utility. Schedule our lives. Make time for a meditation routine and spiritual study each day. Schedule a time for a period of introspection, of self-analysis each day. Make time and follow a schedule, a healthful routine of physical exercise and diet and the other health practices. You know, these are all the outer approaches to achieving a balanced life. And they're very good. They're very helpful. But here's what I want to impress on you. They are only partially effective. And they're nowhere near as powerful as when they are combined with the inner approach to balance. You know, these outer practices are good and valuable, but the inner approach is what yoga teaches. The inner approach means this. It means to achieve balance not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. Yoga teaches, for instance, that the supreme source of balance in our lives, supreme source of balance in the cosmos, is the attunement we can find with that great Om vibration, with that great divine cosmic vibration. And we do that, as I said a minute ago, we do that one powerful way is by centering our consciousness in the kutastha, in the spiritual eye. How often we used to hear our revered Dayamataji telling us over and over again about times in her life when, especially in the later years, when Guruji was giving her more and more responsibility for running the organization and all of the administrative issues and problems and the bills to be paid and the financial and everything that goes along with a big organization, he was gradually putting on her shoulders. And so often she would go to him just really almost at her wit's end about not knowing, what do I do about this and what do I do about that? And she would run to Guruji, hoping for an opportunity to itemize all of the difficulties for him so that he could give her the solution. But before she could even start to do that, what did he say? He would just look at her and say, just sit down and meditate. Sit down and meditate. Or he would say, just keep your mind here at the spiritual eye, at the Kutastha center. And to her great and lasting glory, I would say, an example for all of us, she took that lesson to heart and she became the Sangamata. She became that example of balance and poise. And I remember one time she said this to us about that training that Guruji gave to her, where he refused to be drawn down to the level of those outer issues and was training her to lift her consciousness to the higher level where they could be addressed. And she said, without that training, today I would just be another harried businesswoman. So let us find that balance from within and bring it into our outer lives. Let us bathe the consciousness in the spiritual eye. You know, you can feel in a physical sense when you bathe in water how that brings relaxation in the body by balancing the life forces. Well, in the same way, my dears, bathing in the spiritual eye balances the entire consciousness. That's what the SRF and YSS techniques, especially Kriya Yoga, will do for us. Now, it's not going to do us any good just to think about it. It's not going to do us any good just to listen to a lecture about it. We have to do it. We have to actually immerse ourselves in that perception. So let's practice this together now. Can we have a guided meditation and visualization to really put this into practice? So again, sit up straight, close the eyes, lift the gaze and the attention and concentration to the point between the eyebrows. Now inhale slowly. Tense all the muscles, and then exhale. Do that a few times. Inhale, tense the muscles. Exhale, relax. Inhale. Exhale. And now just silently follow and affirm with me as I lead us in this affirmation, in this visualization. I am submerged in the peace of God. Just repeat that silently to yourself. I am submerged in the peace of God. It saturates all my thoughts, all my feelings. It saturates my will and desires. all are absorbed in the peace of God. I am motionless. I am utterly still. I am motionless. I am utterly still. My muscles all relax in the peace of God. My muscles all relax in the peace of God. I am motionless. I am still. I am motionless. I am still. My breath is calm. I feel no need to breathe. I am utterly still. I am motionless. I am utterly still. Now, holding yourself in that stillness, visualize with me. Visualize that radiant spiritual eye at the point between the eyebrows. That radiating ring of golden light and energy, within which is that pure opalescent blue field, that blue sphere. And then shining at the very center, that silvery white star. Visualize and gaze into that spiritual eye. Feel it radiating well-being and balance and harmony into the whole body, into the mind. Just like when we emerge from a dark, cold basement of our house and walk out into the radiant, warm sunshine, we feel that warmth embracing and filling all of our body cells and muscles. In the same way, that sun of the spiritual eye radiates Om. It radiates that divine light and vibratory power of balance. Feel that vibration of life energy, of Om, from that ring of gold, that ring of untiring, immortal cosmic energy. Feel it balancing all the organs and cells of the body. Feel the blue opalescent sphere, that calm wisdom intelligence of God, the Krishna consciousness or Christ consciousness. Feel that blue radiant sphere balancing the mind. The wisdom and consciousness of God balances our mind. And that silvery light of the white star, feel that as the anchor of our soul in the transcendental, unchanging, imperturbable spirit. My dears, this is how we bring ourselves into that flow of the Om vibration, the flow of divine light and consciousness after we practice the techniques of meditation. When we're trying to live a balanced life, when we're looking for the way to balanced life, there's nothing more important than after we perform the techniques as Guruji taught, spend time in that stillness. Spend time letting that silent, radiant benediction flowing through the kutastha, flowing out of the spiritual eye to balance body, mind, and soul. That's what it means when we say real balance, lasting balance in our lives has to come from inside to outside. Remember, my beloved ones, we become what we concentrate on. If we concentrate upon chaos, on the outer flow of circumstances, our lives will be chaotic. We will be chaotic. But if we concentrate on peace and harmony, we will be peaceful and harmonious. And our lives will be peaceful and harmonious. And not only that, but let's always remember, we become what we concentrate on, and what we become radiates out into the world. What we become radiates out, first into our immediate surroundings and those we associate with, our family, friends, so on, then into the community, to our nation, to the world, and on into the cosmos. Let us become balanced yogis, concentrating on that inner peace and expressing it as an ideal balance in our outer lives. Now, my dear ones, as we come to the closing of these days of Sadhana Sangam, and you're getting ready and looking forward, looking ahead to returning to your homes, your families, your duties in the world, just carry this with you. Carry with you the power of Paramahansa Yoganandaji's vision of how you can live a balanced life. Carry the power of his vision that you will find God, that you can live a balanced life, that you don't have to be a victim of the world. You can be a master of consciousness. And gradually letting our lives become that ecstatic song of spirit and nature dancing together. Spirit and nature dancing together. Victory to spirit, victory to nature. So if you take with you even a little bit of what's been given during this Sadhana Sangam, the points about meditation, about right action, about right attitude, about attunement with God and Guru, I promise you, each one, you will find that you're not alone in your spiritual efforts. The masters are with you, walking by your side. The Divine Mother is with you, guiding and protecting you. The power of the Om vibration is available to you at every moment. So let's go forth from this gathering with renewed enthusiasm, with a feeling of being divinely empowered by that transmission of Guruji's consciousness. Let's go forward with confidence, with trust that with God and Guru, we can achieve a beautifully balanced life. And not only that, but through that life, to bless our families, our communities, and this entire world. Jai Guru. And now, beloved ones, for those of you who are gathered there at our ashrams, we're going to have a time of joyous devotional chanting, and then prasad will be distributed by our dear monks. Prasad that's been infused with the love, the joy, the divine power of our Guru. And from here, from Los Angeles, from the Mother Center, I'm sending out a prayer that each one of you will receive, not just the physical prasad, but that vibratory blessing of Gurudev that flows through the ether from his omnipresent consciousness into your soul as you receive from our dear monks in his name. God bless you all. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.